The first section is one-step equations. And we're going to start by looking at the equation and asking what's the operation, or can we just use cross the line, change the sign on it? Number one looks like a cross the line, change the sign problem. There's only addition and subtraction. So I'm going to take the negative 20 and sort it to the other side. It becomes positive 20. I'm going to take the x and keep it here. And the negative 27 stays where it's at. So now I have to just do the subtraction, which is 20 minus 27. That gives me x equals negative 7, and I'm done. Okay? This first section here, one-step equations, is one of the first things you guys were expected to do when we started solving equations. All right, number 2. Same process. It has addition and subtraction in it. So we're going to use cross line, change the sign. And the 12 goes to the other side and becomes negative 12. When it goes to the other side, it changes the sign. It doesn't necessarily become negative. It's like, see how here the negative 20 became positive 20? On this one, the positive 12 is going to become negative 12. So whatever it is, it changes. The 29 stays. And so we got n equals, and then you have to calculate what's negative 12 plus 29. Well, we take away a 1 from the 10, so we get 1. Take away 2 from the 9, so we get 7. So n equals 17. The clickers should be running, and you can type your answers into the clickers. If you feel that you want to go and move ahead and work faster than the video or the lesson, then you can, and you can check your answers on the clickers. Everyone should be getting them all right, though, since I'm giving you the answers. Number 3, there is a division problem here. So we're going to multiply by 4. Taking a look at number 3, how are we going to handle this? We need to start by asking what's the operation in the problem. It's n divided by 4. Whenever there's division by 4, we're going to multiply by 4 to get rid of it. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 4. Here the 4's cancel, and I get n equals 12, because 3 times 4 gives me 12. I've now solved the problem, and I'm done. That's, again, these are one-step equations, so if you're having to do a whole ton of work on them, you're probably not doing it right. All right, number 4, we have 8x equals 24. The operation between the 8 and the x is multiplication. So we're going to divide both sides by 8. And when I do that, I get x equals 3, and I'm done. Again, these are one-step equations, so if you're doing a lot of steps, you're probably doing it wrong or making it too difficult. Number 5 looks like something we can solve using cross the line, change the sign, so let's go ahead and do that. 25, or negative 25, becomes positive 25 when it crosses the line. N becomes negative 1n. Negative 18 stays. So now I have negative 1n equals whatever 25 minus 18 is. So we're going to calculate that out. Positive 13, yeah. So then we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. And we get n equals 13. Okay. Number 6. Sorry. All right, we're going to make some corrections here. 25 minus 18 is going to be 7. And that's going to get us, when we divide by negative 1, n equals negative 7. I apologize. It'd be good if we could do math. All right. Number 6. Now, the retake that you guys are going to do tomorrow, some questions are worth more than others. Okay? This section here, each section is worth 10 points. This section is 3 questions, and that's going to be worth 10 points. These first questions in this section are worth the most points. If we go to solve this, it's set up to be a fairly easy equation. We're going to start by sorting. 5x stays. 4 becomes negative 4. 13 stays. 2x becomes minus 2x. x. So I have 5 minus 2 is 3x. Negative 4 plus 13 is 9. And then I divide both sides by 3, and I get x equals 3. Okay. It's important that you guys see there were the 4 steps to solving an equation using cross-line change of sign. Step 1 was to draw the line. Step 2 was to sort. Step 3 was to combine the like terms or add both sides up. Step 4 is to divide and solve. Okay? We're going to use the same process in number 7, and you'll see those same 4 steps. So we start by drawing the line. That's step 1. Step 2, we sort the terms. So negative 2p stays. Negative 4 becomes positive 4. Negative 4p becomes positive 4p. And 4p becomes minus 4p. We now need to combine like terms. So negative 2 plus 4 minus 4 is negative 2p. And 4 doesn't get combined with anything. So, we talked about in the last problem that we're going to divide both sides by a number. What are we dividing by? Negative 2. Because negative 2 is the number in front of the p. So in reality, while technically I am dividing both sides by negative 2, when I'm really trying to just get my answer, I'm saying 4 divided by negative 2. So I'm going to get p equals negative 2, and then that's my answer. Okay, I write more stuff usually, but I think sometimes that might confuse people. So we're going to try just writing that. Okay, moving on to number 8. Number 8, we have a clue in this problem that we're going to need to multiply first, and that clue is these parentheses. Whenever you see parentheses, that means we got to do some multiplication first. So we're going to say negative 7 times the numbers on the inside. So I have everything else dropping down. Negative 30 minus 4b, not p, but 4b, equals negative 1. And then negative 7 times negative 4 is positive 28b. Negative 7 times negative 5 is positive 35. Now I can go to my 4-step cross-line change the sign process. Step 1, draw the line. Step 2, sort the terms. Negative 30 becomes 30. Negative 4b stays. Negative 1 stays. 28 becomes minus 28b. 35 stays. So now I have negative 32b equals, and then here we're going to combine what we have. So 30 plus 35 is 65, minus 1 is 64. What am I going to divide on both sides by when I solve this problem? I heard a lot of people say negative 32, which is correct. We divide by negative 32. Why? Because that's the number that was in front of the variable. Okay? When we solve this, we get b equals negative 2 for our answer. This is the whole multi-step equation section as far as the regular multi-step equations go. Okay? So this is kind of referring to not the test we took yesterday, but the one we took last week. Multi-step equations. Alright, please go to the next page. This next section of the test is on special cases. And one thing that I really want to emphasize is that you need to read the directions on this section very carefully, because the directions are not like the ones you're used to. Okay? So if we read these directions, it says the following equations have been mostly worked out. Select the correct answer to each problem. What that means for us is this is actually a problem where they didn't draw the line, but they did cross the line, change the sign, and they almost finished the problem, but they left the last step where you actually tell me what the answer is off. Okay? So what I want you to do is take a look at the work. They sorted things out. They simplified, combined like terms, and they end up with 0x equals negative 9. If I have 0x equals negative 9, that implies the 0 times x is 0 equals negative 9. We know that 0 is not the same as negative 9, so we would say that is false. So since it is false, we have a couple options here. It might be x equals 0, it might be all real numbers, it might be no solution, it might be answer not listed here. What do we think the answer is? If it's false, it makes sense to say, yeah, no solution. Okay. Whenever you have an equation that comes out to something that's always false, that means there's no solution. Number 10. We're going to use cross the line, change the sign. Okay, so number 10 we have, it all worked out and we ended up with 0 equals 0. Well, 0 times x means 0 equals 0. Is that true or false? It's true. Not through, but true. Okay? Since it's true, it will be all real numbers. It's kind of the opposite situation of the no solution. Here, no matter what number I put in for x, it'll always come out to be a true equation. Okay? The equation is always solved regardless of the x that we use. Now, you could probably figure out that number 11 might be a little bit different. When they worked out number 11, they tried to solve it using cross the line, change the sign, and they ended up with 2x equals 0, which doesn't quite get us the answer, but we're trying to figure out what x is in all of these problems. And in this one here, whenever you have 2x equals 0, we talked in the last section, the last step is to divide by the number in front of the variable. In this case, that number is 2. Can I say 0 divided by 2? Well, of course I can. There's no special situation about dividing by 2 in math. You can always divide by 2. You can even divide nothing by 2. If I have $0 and I give it to 2 people evenly, how much does each person get? $0. So I get x equals 0. So what is my answer here? Which choice should I select? It is, of course, A. All right. These first 3 questions that we just did kind of establish, if you can do these first 3 questions where they already solve the problem for you and you just have to tell me what the answer is, that kind of shows a basic level of understanding of what these special cases are. You need to know, if you see 0x equals a number, that's going to mean no solution. Okay? If you see 0x equals 0, that's going to mean all real numbers. If you see a number in front of the x equals 0, that means you're just going to get x equals 0, and that's your answer. Okay? Just like saying x equals 4 or x equals 7 or whatever. Now, number 12 is asking us to put it all together and actually solve the problem. Okay. So number 12, we're going to solve using cross the line, change the sign. 3x plus 2x equals 5x plus 1. When I solve this, I start by drawing the line, then I sort 3x plus 2x minus 5x equals 1. Now I combine like terms. This gives me 0x equals 1. If I have 0x equals 1, I think most people can get to this point. They then get confused, though, about what they're supposed to do. You need to ask, or anytime you see a 0 in front of the variable like this, you know it's going to be one of the 2 special cases. Okay, so we already know it should be C or D. It's not going to be A or B because there's a 0 in front of the variable. So then we have to ask, is it all real numbers or no solution? Well, 0 times x is 0, and 0 equals 1, which is false. And we know that false answers lead to no solution. Alright, so if you could do number 12, that shows a good level of proficiency on these special case problems. It shows you can solve the whole problem and do a problem. Now, number 13 is a tricky one. You haven't seen problems like this. Again, I want to encourage you to read the directions. It says, find the number that would go in the blank to make the answer to the problem be no solution. So I'm going to rewrite the problem larger so we can all see. It says blank x plus 2 equals 4 minus 15 x plus x. So number 13, we're going to start by using cross-line change to sign. I don't know what the number of x's is here, but I know that it's got x's in it, so I'm going to keep it right here. I know that the 2 is going to go to the other side and become negative 2. 4 is going to stay plus 4. Negative 15x becomes minus 15x, and plus x becomes minus 1x. Sorry, negative 15 will be a positive 15. Thank you for paying attention. Okay? And so now let's try and combine like terms here for the next step as much as we can anyway. Negative 2 and 4 gives me positive 2 on the right side. On the left side, we have 15 minus 1, which is 14. So I have blank x plus 14x equals 2. Now the question is, what number would I have to put in for that blank in order to make this answer be no solution? Well, in order for the answer to be no solution, I have to have a 0x, right? So how do I cancel a 14x out with what I have here? Yes. What's that? Negative 14, yes. If I put negative 14 right here, that would make those two cancel out, which would then give me 0x equals 2. That means 0 equals 0, which is false. So the answer is going to be no solution. Now, they're not asking for a code. They're not asking for an answer. What did the question ask for? It said, find the number that would go into the blank to make the problem be no solution. So my actual answer to this question is the number that goes in the blank, which I heard some people say, negative 14. Yes. If we take a look at 14, 15, and 16, again, it's important to read the directions. I'm not trying to trip you up. I just want to make sure you follow the directions that are written on the page. It does not say to solve. It says to find the number that each equation will be multiplied by to clear the fraction. And the way we find that number is by looking at the denominator. So number 14, all we have to do is multiply everything by 2. So number 14, the answer is 2. Number 15, we have a 7 in the denominator. So we would multiply both sides by 7. So my answer is 7. Again, they're not asking you to solve. They're asking you what number you would multiply by. The number for number 16, what are we going to multiply by? 9, yes. So I'm going to say my answer is 9. If you know the answer to these first 3 problems, that just shows a basic level of understanding. It shows you know how to get the problem started at least. You may not know how to solve the whole thing, but you know you can get some points by doing just this right. Now, number 17, we actually have to solve the problem. So we're going to be looking at this, and we already discussed we need to multiply by the denominator. So we're going to multiply everything by 5. Okay? When we do that, we distribute that multiplication to every one of the terms. And I can then write it all out. So I have 5 times k plus 5 times 1 over 5 equals 5 times 6 over 5 plus 5 times 7 over 5k. It's very important that you guys realize how you get that. All I did was put a 5 in front of each term because I was multiplying every single term by 5. Now I'm going to cancel things that cancel. Well, the 5's cancel here, here, and here. So I have 5k plus a 1 left over equals 6 plus 7k. Now I can solve this using my cross-line change the sign method. So even though that was a different part of the test, it's still important to know here. 5k stays, 1 becomes negative 1, 6 becomes plus 6, 7 becomes minus 7. Okay, so we have negative 2k equals negative 1 plus 6, which is 5. We then need to divide both sides by negative 2. So I end up with k equaling negative 5 over 2. Let's check our answers, make sure that's right. All right. Now, number 18. This one's a little trickier. Okay? There's different numbers in the denominator that we got to multiply by. And we talked about this on Tuesday. If there's different numbers, we're going to multiply by those numbers. So here we have a 3 times a 4. Now, there's also a 12, but guess what 3 times 4 equals? 12. So I don't even have to put an extra 12 in there. I'm multiplying 3 times 4, and that is already multiplying by 12. So I can just multiply both sides by 3 times 4. So now I end up with 3 times 4 times n plus 3 times 4 times 5 over 3 equals 3 times 4 times 23 over 12 plus 3 times 4 times 5n over 4. Now I got to cancel things. So I have 3 canceling. Now 3 times 4 is 12. So 3 times 4 can cancel with the 12. And then the 4's cancel here. Now I will finish. Alright. So now we're going to write what we have left over. So that's 12n plus 4 times 5, which is 20, equals, everything here canceled out except for the 23. And 3 times 5 gives me 15n. I then go to solve this. 12n, negative 20 plus 23, and minus 15n. So I get negative 3n equals 3. So n equals negative 1.